Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're looking for recommendations on what manhwa to read, then here are some that I've read recently that might be of interest. Manhwa tiles are timestamped in the video for your convenience. Our first manhwa for this week is Unrequited Love Doesn't End with Marriage, a romance manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 71 on. Its main character is Miel, an individual who lives in a typical historical romantic fantasy setting. Think medieval with emperors, kingdoms, knights, and the like. Miel lived in a particular region though that was the main battlefield between two opposing powers. Even after the war was concluded though, the region was devastated and Miel had to take care of herself and her two younger siblings afterwards. The seemingly only person to lend a hand to the citizens of the region was Duke Arctis, and luckily for Miel, she was able to land a job as part of the reconstruction efforts in the administration department. Move forward a bit though, and the Duke now offered her a contractual marriage. But she's in love with the Duke though, huh? An interesting drama starts now. The story is 9 out of 10. My synopsis includes some things that are from somewhat later chapters, but since it's Miel's past, I thought it would actually be important to go over. Otherwise, it has actual ups and downs, a good pace that keeps things just interesting enough to keep you reading, and honestly, drama all around. This manhwa for sure keeps you invested. The characters are 8 out of 10. For romance characters, they're actually believable humans. They have flaws that aren't that forced and misunderstandings, feelings, and overall thoughts that actually drive their actions, for good or for bad. Both Miel and the Duke though have a lot of growth ahead of them for them to actually be able to be destined for one another. The art is 7 out of 10. Its weakest aspect for sure, the art style is what you would expect for a romance genre at this point, especially in the fantasy setting. It's a solid rendition for sure, but it doesn't make itself unique or separate it from the crowd of romance manhwas out there, and both the ones I've read before and also ones that I haven't, at least so far. So if you wanted a romance manhwa where its story is actually interesting and the characters are human and have the possibility of making mistakes, then Unrequited Love Doesn't End with Marriage would be one that I would recommend to you. This next manhwa to take a look at is Concept Grasping Magic Genius, a fantasy manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 37 on. The protagonist of this tale is Unrequited, an orphan living in a fantasy world where magic exists. As part of being in the orphanage though, he was begging on the streets for money and actually making a decent amount of it. Through sheer observation and understanding though, Rowan was able to grasp just the concept of magic as he watched bystanders and others go by. Due to some underworld actors that members of the orphanage were a part of, investigators at one point came by and stormed the place. Feeling a little conflicted but ultimately choosing to go on the side of the good ones, Rowan chooses a new path, one that will certainly cause him to face those that actually initially cared and taught him. The story is 8 out of 10. Working with villains, although unintentionally, would make you think Rowan would follow or at least think of those that cared for him in a positive light in some way, but in actuality it's quite the opposite as the plot unfolds. And honestly, it's what made me kind of think of this as interesting. The characters though, because of it, are 6 out of 10. Rowan, though being very stoic is a fine trait, the inherent goodness that you see from him, even with the hand that he was dealt with initially in life, is hard to truly believe. Yes, he was blessed with good talent and attracted attention, but there's just too much that's being attributed to his genius and I don't really buy it. The art is 8 out of 10. With some resemblance to other magic or mage-focused manhwa, this particular work, though, portrays the world in Rowan's eyes as magical, intriguing, and overall kind of fluffy and light. Even visualizing the concept of magic itself is intriguing, but not necessarily the most unique concept. So if you enjoy fantasy manhwas with a focus on magic similar to the Genius Prismatic Mage from my previous videos, then fans of the genre should definitely take a look at Concept Grasping Magic Genius. The game's Addict Reset is the name of our next manhwa to take a look at. It's a modern manhwa that I've kind of read up to chapter 38 on. Lee Jin-ho is the name of its main character, and he lives in modern day Korea where he's quite addicted to a game by the name of Reset Life. From its context given, it seems to be a game that can be played on the phone in which you play out a variety of lives, about 99 in fact. Each of these lives correspond to real-world tasks that are quite annoying to achieve, causing most players to drop it for the most part, but not Jinho, to the point that he actually finishes it all. The reward? Living the 100th life, his own, with skills reflected from those 99 lives that he already went through. The story is 7 out of 10. What starts off as an intriguing start continues with Jinho leading his life, but it turns into more of a variety of modern tropes in which Jinho is completely overpowered with a skill, particularly of any one of those 99 lives. It does, however, lack an overarching story to try and tie it all together. Seems like a haphazardly living life afterwards. The characters are also 7 out of 10. For living seemingly a good portion of his teenage years, it seems, playing this reset life game, Jinho is blessed with a good family and some good friends that stuck with him even before the transformation, which allowed Jinho to be naturally good-natured and for us readers to actually believe it to be so. The art is 7 out of 10 as well. The discrepancy between those that are fortunate and those that are not are on display from the beginning. And there is even a variety of activities that Jinho pursues post-transformation, which, by the way, there's actually a decent glow up for him too. But it lacks depth due to no focus in any one particular field one way or another. So if you enjoy modern manhwas where the main characters go through quite the glow up and become successful thereon after, then give the Game Addict's Reset a try. Our shorter story for this week is The Life of a Former Mercenary Inspector, a modern manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 18 on. The focus of this plot is on Lee Jong-hwan, an individual that is introduced to us as a mercenary for hire from a PMC or private military company. That is, until he suddenly retires and returns to his home country of South Korea. This is where we learn he's actually a prosecutor but fled the country due to a variety of personal reasons. There are a lot of questions to ask, and we will clearly have to wait for all of them to be answered. The potential is 9 out of 10. Being given just enough of a background to make things interesting, Jong-hwan clearly has a past that the readers are not privy to initially. Even with the short chapter list so far, it's enough to glean some details that were clearly quite dangerous for him back then. And revenge seems to be very much on the menu without even getting into those details just yet. The art is 8 out of 10. The particular skill set that Jong-hwan has had to train will come in handy considering his personal circumstances. It's also well displayed that there are connections in various fields and various countries that he will certainly need to utilize in multiple ways to achieve his true goals, which, of course, for right now, evades us. This manhwa has the added law portion as well, which gives it a slight edge over other ones like this. So if you enjoy modern action manhwas and a mix of skills from Teenage Mercenary mixed with seemingly the motivations of Price of Violence from my previous video seems a little bit interesting to you, then The Life of a Former Mercenary Inspector has some promise that you might just want to keep your eyes on. Welcome to the highlight portion of today's video. Our highlight today is World's Greatest Senior Disciple, which I've now read up to chapter 149 on. Info card description will have links to my original opinion. Hyuk Moo-sang is of course our main character. Originally from a third-rate countryside martial academy, he became part of a secretive selection of warriors and even ended up acquiring a mysterious power that made him absurdly strong. Now with those activities ceasing, Moo-sang returned home to that academy. But a lot of problems keep coming up and even his own past now catches up to him. No matter what he does and if he wants to or not, he will have to become personally involved so that he can protect what he holds dear, from the martial academy to his lover and even his friends and acquaintances that he's made along the way. Needing to grow out of the potential of enemies due to his power, Moo-sang clearly needs to step forward into the limelight of the Muram world so that he actually has a shot to actually get to the bottom of things. My previous scores for this manhwa were 7 out of 10 for story and art and 8 out of 10 for characters. The story goes down to 6 out of 10, as really, this manhwa is quite slow-paced. Yes, there are constant events and murmurs happening all around the place, but they're merely droplets of info for what is seemingly a looming chaos over Muram. The art though, on the other hand, goes up to 8 out of 10. as the overpowered Muram action is still very much present and pleasantly delighted about it, honestly. But the growth of Musang's character, alongside his social relationships, gives some room for some comedy and romance to sneak its way in. A good way to distract from the serious matters at hand, and the art style shows for it too. The characters stay the same at 8 out of 10, as the usual case with a slower paced story is actual character development, which is spread across to various characters and not just Musang, which is good to see. Although, a lot of it revolves back around to him though, one way or another. World's Greatest Senior Disciple, compared to most of the other Muram manhwas I've covered, is definitely on the slower side of things. Considering Musang's power, the fact that he can only sense that a looming threat is coming hopefully will come to fruition sooner rather than later. Overall, a solid, slower Muram title. Would you agree, or would you not? Comment down below your thoughts on World's Greatest Senior Disciple. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Write down in the comment section down below what manhwa you've been reading and I might just take a look. Till next time though, have a good read.